above Earth's swirling blue and green. The colossal shadow of the Galactic Empire's flagship darkened the skies like an eclipse. It hung silently over the sprawling megacities of the Northern Hemisphere, a leviathan carved of black steel, and humming with cold alien power. Below, billions stared upward, their faces a mixture of awe and dread. The broadcast began without warning. Across every screen on Earth, from the holodisplays in homes to the cracked terminals in remote villages, the image of the Emperor himself appeared. His visage was cold, a mask of infinite authority, framed by the glittering sigils of his dominion. His voice echoed across the globe in perfect unison. People of Earth, you stand on the brink of submission or annihilation. The Empire demands tribute, 10,000 souls to serve as labor and soldiers, all rare resources in your possession and your most advanced technologies. You have 72 hours to comply. Failure will be met with absolute destruction. Silence followed the decree, broken only by the rising sound of panic. Governments convened emergency councils. Military bases scrambled to prepare for invasion. Families huddled together in fear. Yet beneath the surface, not all bowed to despair. In a hidden command center beneath the ruined remains of old London, a cluster of humans gathered around flickering holoscreens. At the center stood Commander Malik, a grizzled veteran whose eyes burned with stubborn defiance. Around him, scientists, diplomats, and ex-military leaders spoke in hurried whispers, their faces illuminated by the glow of schematics and star maps. Malik's voice cut through the tension. They want our submission, but they'll get our resistance instead. We don't have the firepower to fight their fleet head-on, but we have something they don't understand: human will. We run, yes, but we run to fight another day. Across the room, Dr. Amara Chen adjusted her glasses and pointed to a projection of Earth's hidden fleets. More fast stealth ships armed with experimental weaponry. They think we're primitive, but this, she said, voice steady but urgent, this is our ace. We've been preparing for this moment for years, in secret. The Empire has no idea what we're capable of. Outside, the world was a boiling cauldron of chaos. Some cities descended into riots, others erected hastily built defenses. Rumors swirled, traitors among their own ranks, spies who whispered Empire secrets, factions who debated whether to betray Earth for survival. The broadcast from the flagship resumed, this time with a chilling demonstration. From its belly emerged a squadron of drones, sleek, deadly machines with glowing red sensors, sending a pulse that wiped out an entire military outpost on a remote island with surgical precision. The message was clear: the Empire was prepared to enforce its will by annihilation in the underbelly of the city. In a cramped apartment overlooking the chaos, 16-year-old Lyra Patel watched the broadcast with clenched fists. Her parents had been scientists working on the Stealth Fleet project. They disappeared weeks ago, taken by the authorities. Or worse, her voice trembled, but was firm when she spoke to the small group of young people gathered with her. They want us to be slaves, but we're not. We have to fight or run, and if we run fast and we run smart. Back in the command center, a secure line crackled to life. The voice on the other end was a sharp female Tonan, elite hacker known only as Shade. "I've breached the Empire's comms," Shade announced. "They're arrogant, overconfident. Their security protocols are strong, but they underestimate human creativity. I've managed to hijack their broadcast." For exactly 7 seconds, Malik nodded. Do it. Send our message. For 7 heart-pounding seconds, every screen on Earth flashed a new image. A defiant symbol, a clenched fist, overlaid with Earth's silhouette, and a single message in bold text. We will run, we will fight, we will never kneel. The Empires. BROAD-CAST resumed immediately, but the defiant message lingered in the minds of millions. The seed of rebellion had been planted. As night fell across Earth, lights flickered in cities and countryside alike. Some homes switched off their power to avoid detection. Others braced for the unknown storm. But in hidden bunkers, the steely hum of starship engines began to rise. In the darkest hour before dawn, Malik stood alone on the rooftop of the command center. The stars overhead twinkled cold and distant. He whispered to the night, "Run while you still can. But when the time comes, we will rise." The Empire believed Earth was a defenseless world on its knees. They had no idea humanity was already moving fast, silent, and ready to fight back. While the Empire's flagship loomed ominously over Earth, its commanders remained convinced that humanity was little more than a resource to be harvested, a species clinging desperately to a backwater planet, primitive and disorganized. But beneath the surface, in the shadows of shattered cities and underground bunkers, Earth's true strength was quietly awakening. Dr. Amara Chen stood before a sprawling holomap in the dimly lit war room, her sharp eyes scanning the complex data. Streams streaming from the prototype stealth fleet hidden in orbit. The ships were small and fast, cloaked in experimental stealth fields that rendered them nearly invisible even to the Empire's advanced sensors. Each was armed with energy weapons and drone swarms designed for hit-and-run strikes technology. Years ahead of what the Empire expected Earth to possess, this fleet, Amara said, voice steady but urgent, is our best chance. We cannot defeat the Empire head-on. We lack their numbers and raw firepower. But we are clever. We fight smart. We hit where it hurts, and then vanish before they can react. Commander Malik paced behind her, his mind racing with the weight of the coming battle. The problem, he said grimly, is time. We have less than 3 days before the Empire demands tribute or delivers destruction, and Earth's governments. They're fractured. Some want to surrender, some want to fight, others are simply paralyzed by fear. We need unity, or we'll fall apart before we even start. Amara nodded, which is why we've kept this secret hidden from most of them. The coalition is small, but it's dedicated. Scientists, engineers, former military officers, all working together underground to prepare for this moment. Behind a steel door guarded by armed sentries, the entrance to the orbital shipyard hummed with activity. Engineers rushed to complete the last stealth vessels. The prototype ships were marvels of human ingenuity, lightweight, adaptive armor, bio-integrated AI systems that could anticipate pilot moves, and engines fueled by a rare isotope mined from Earth's deepest mines. Inside the hangar, Lyra Patel, young but fiercely determined, inspected one of the sleek ships. Her parents had been among the lead scientists on this project before their mysterious disappearance. Every detail she memorized, every feature, was a reminder of the cost of secrecy and the hope of survival. Suddenly, alarms blared through the facility. Red lights bathed the walls as a warning flashed. Security breach detected. Commander Malik's jaw tightened. They've found us. Or worst, they've had a mole inside all along. In the war room, a tense debate erupted. Some urged immediate evacuation, while others demanded an urgent investigation. Malik raised his hand for silence. We can't afford panic, but this confirms the worst. We're compromised. Shade, can you trace the breach? The elite hackers. Fingers danced across her keyboard. I'm on it. Whoever did this is skilled and careful. But yes, I'm narrowing it down. Minutes dragged by like hours. Finally, Shade spoke. It's within our inner circle. Someone we trusted. The room fell silent. Betrayal within their ranks was a devastating blow. Amara broke the silence. We can't let this stop us. The Empire thinks Earth is weak. They don't know about the hyperspace corridor we discovered last year, the one hidden behind the Kuiper Belt debris field. If we can get our fleet through it, we might evade the Empire's main forces altogether. Malik looked to the holomap. A risky gamble. The corridor is uncharted. No one knows what's waiting on the other side. But it's our only chance. Amara insisted. Either we run and use the corridor to vanish beyond their reach, or we die trying to hold Earth's surface. The choice was clear, but terrifying. Meanwhile, far above, the Empire's flagship tightened its grip. A contingent of elite soldiers, hulking figures in power armor, descended to Earth in sleek shuttles. They moved swiftly to secure strategic points and hunt for resistance cells. Their orders were ruthless: crush opposition, seize resources, and capture human laborers. On the moon, the Empire established a forward base, its cold towers cutting into the gray, regolith-like obsidian shards. From there, their sensors scoured Earth's orbit for signs of the hidden fleet. Back on Earth, Malik convened a final briefing. We launched the evacuation in 12 hours. Every able-bodied pilot, engineer, and resistance member boards the stealth. Ships, civilians with valuable skills will follow in transport shuttles. But we move fast because once the Empire knows where we are, they will hunt us relentlessly. Lyra listened closely, her heart pounding. What about my parents? She asked quietly. Do we know if they're still alive? Malik's gaze softened, but he shook his head. No one knows, but we fight to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Outside, the first starship slid silently into position. Their dark hulls blended with the void, waiting for the signal. Yet the traitor in their midst was already moving. Hidden messages passed through encrypted channels, feeding the Empire information on ship locations and escape plans. As Earth's coalition prepared to run, a new battle had begun, a battle not just of weapons, but of trust and survival. And somewhere deep in the shadows, the Empire's spies smiled, believing the end was near. But Earth's answer would not be surrendered. It would be to run while they still could and to fight like hell on the other side. The clock ticked down relentlessly. 72 hours since the Empire's ultimatum, and Earth's last hope was a gamble on the edge of oblivion. In the sprawling underground command center beneath New Delhi, Commander Malik stood before a vast projection of the solar system. Tiny dots marked the positions of their stealth ships, transports, and the approaching Imperial fleet. The window to escape was shrinking fast. Status report, Malik demanded, his voice cutting through the room like a blade. Dr. Amara Chen's fingers flew across a console. The stealth fleet is ready, 60 ships, all systems green, engines primed for hyperspace jump. But the transport shuttles are behind schedule. Civilian loading is slower than expected, and the sabotage has forced us to reroute power, delaying final launch. Malik's jaw tightened. Every minute counts. Shade, what about the traitor? Can we isolate them? The hacker's face appeared on a holodisplay, tense and focused. We've locked down the comms channels and quarantined suspicious data nodes. But whoever it is has been clever covering tracks, rerouting messages through multiple proxies. We haven't nailed them yet, but I'm close. A murmur of unease rippled through the room. Trust was the most precious and fragile resource they had left. Outside, in the launch bay, Lyra Patel helped load the last of the evacuees onto the transports. She glanced nervously at the gleaming stealth fighters, their black holes pulsing faintly under the dim lights. Each ship was a promise of survival and a chance to fight back. Suddenly, a siren blared, sending a shockwave through the base. Red emergency lights flashed, casting long shadows on the walls. Imperial fleet detected. A technician shouted, voice strained. They're entering Earth's orbit, larger than expected. It looks like the flagship is leading a direct assault. Mollick's face darkened. They're faster than we anticipated. Launch all ships now. A chaotic ballet unfolded as personnel scrambled to their stations. The stealth fleet powered up, engines humming with barely contained energy. Transport shuttles rumbled, ready to ferry refugees and specialists into space. But then, the unexpected one. Of the largest transports, carrying over 100 civilians stalled on the launch pad, its engines refusing to ignite. Power failure, the pilot reported over the comm. Systems are offline. We're sitting ducks. Malik cursed under his breath. Send a repair team. We don't have time for this. Lyra volunteered immediately. I'll go. Within minutes, she and a small crew sprinted toward the stranded ship, carrying tools and emergency power cells. As they worked frantically to restore systems, distant explosions rocked the facility. The Empire's orbital drones had begun their assault. A massive explosion shattered a nearby hangar bay, sending debris raining down. Smoke and fire filled the air. The facility's emergency protocols activated, forcing evacuation orders even as the transport remained disabled. Lyra's hand shook, but her resolve hardened. Come on, just a little more. A sudden surge of power flooded the ship's systems. Engines roared to life. We're back online, the pilot exclaimed. With no time to waste, the transport lifted off, narrowly escaping a salvo of plasma fire from pursuing Imperial fighters above. The stealth fleet slipped away under the cover of a synthetic cloak, their ships blinking out of detection like shadows melting into the void. But the Empire was relentless. Their flagship unleashed a pulse scan that rippled through space, threatening to reveal the hidden fleet's position. Amara's voice crackled through the comm, preparing to engage the hyperspace corridor. This is it, people. Once we jump, there's no turning back. Malik stared at the stars beyond the command center's viewport. No, there's only forward. The fleet accelerated, engines screaming as they dove into the shimmering, unstable hyperspace corridor, narrow ribbon of distorted space-time stretching beyond the Kuiper belt. Inside the corridor, time itself seemed to warp. Ship systems fluctuated, sensors flickered. The passage was treacherous, untested. Suddenly, the lead stealth ship lurched violently. Hull breach. Shield failure, came the alarm. Mollick's heart pounded. Hold together, we're almost through. One by one, the ships staggered through the corridor's turbulence, emerging in a dark, unfamiliar sector of space far from Earth's solar system, but dangerously isolated. They had made it, but relief was brief. The fleet's scanners detected an ominous signaler, Massive Imperial patrol fleet had followed them through a secondary hyperspace route, cutting off their escape. Malik gritted his teeth. They expected us to run. Now they've trapped us. Back on Earth, news of the escape spread like wildfire. Governments loyal to the Empire branded the fleeing humans as traitors and criminals. Resistance cells on the surface prepared for brutal reprisals. Amara addressed the fleet's crew through a broadcast. "We are no longer running. We are the resistance, and we will turn this new frontier into the Empire's worst nightmare." Lyra, now aboard one of the stealth ships, gazed out at the cold stars, her youthful face steeling with determination. "We left Earth behind," she whispered, "but Earth's spirit rides with us." In the shadows of the Empire, commanders seethed. Their prize, the subjugation of humanity, had slipped away. But the hunt was only beginning. Malik gathered his closest officers. "They think we're weak. They think running is surrender. They're wrong. We're alive. We're free, and we will fight." The battle for humanity's future had only just begun. The cold, silent surface of the moon stretched endlessly beneath the pale glow of Earth hanging in the sky. Fragile blue marble suspended in the void. But this quiet was shattered by the clash of battle, a desperate fight for survival unfolding. Far from Earth's surface, the crippled transport Aurora lay stranded in the sea of tranquility. Its damaged engines flickered weakly, the life support systems barely holding. Around it, Imperial ground forces disembarked from sleek dropships, their armor gleaming under the lunar sun. Weapons drawn and scanning. Inside the ship, Lyra Patel's heart pounded in her chest as she coordinated the defense. With limited supplies and no immediate hope of rescue, the crew had no choice but to make a stand. "Activate emergency protocols. Commander Malik ordered through comes from orbit. Hold them off until extraction arrives or until we find another way," but the odds were brutal. The Imperials were ruthless and well-equipped, their numbers far greater. The small team of Defender scientists, engineers, and soldiers hastily armed had to rely on wit and courage. Outside, the lunar dust swirled as laser fire cut across the rocky plains. Explosions sent plumes of dust into the airless sky. The defenders used the terrain, ducking behind craters and abandoned landers, setting traps and improvised mines. Lyra directed the makeshift defense with a fierce calm. "Focus on slowing them down, target their supply drones. If we can't win, we can make them pay." Amid the chaos, a sudden surge of movement caught her attention. From the shadows of a crater emerged a figure unlike any they had seen before, armored in worn battle gear, with glowing blue eyes that reflected centuries of war. The alien warrior's voice crackled through cums. "You fight well, humans. I am Kale, exile from the Outer Rim. The Empire betrayed my people. I will stand with you." Hope flared in the defenders' hearts. Kale moved with lethal grace, cutting down Imperial soldiers with weapons unfamiliar yet devastatingly effective. His knowledge of the Empire's tactics turned the tide in pockets of the battlefield. "Hold the line." Malik's voice came over the cums, steady and commanding. "Every second we buy is another second Earth's fleet can get away." But the Imperials were relentless, advancing steadily, bringing heavier artillery to bear. The Aurora's hull groaned under impact as enemy fire tore into its sides. Inside the ship's bridge, Lyra and the crew scrambled to keep systems online. "If we lose life support, we're done," she muttered. A technician beside her gritted his teeth, power rerouted to shields. "But it won't hold much longer." Outside, the battle reached a crescendo. Kale rallied the defenders for one last desperate push, his alien blade glowing as he cut through advancing lines. The defenders unleashed a barrage of energy pulses and explosive charges. Buying precious time, suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground. From the horizon, a squadron of Earth's stealth fighters appeared, emerging from the shadows like phantoms. Reinforcements, Malik breathed into the COMMS. The stealth ships swooped low, their advanced weaponry tearing into Imperial dropships and artillery positions. Laser beams streaked across the lunar sky, cutting off the Imperial assault and forcing a retreat. The defenders cheered, but the victory was costly. The Aurora was severely damaged, and casualties mounted. Kale approached Lyra, his blue eyes somber. "This is but the beginning. The Empire will come for you again and harder." Lyra nodded, steeling herself. "Then we'll be ready." As the wounded were evacuated to the waiting stealth ships, Malik surveyed the battlefield from orbit. Earth's hidden fleet had escaped barely, but the cost was high. The battle for survival had shifted from Earth to the stars and moons. Beyond, on the bridge of the flagship, a grim Imperial commander watched the retreat. "They fight like cornered animals," he muttered, "but we will crush their spirit." Yet somewhere deep inside the fleet, a whisper of rebellion was growing louder, message clear as the stars themselves. Humanity will not bow, humanity will run. But when the time comes, humanity will fight. Asterisk, the emptiness of space stretched endlessly around the fleet, the stars cold and distant, like silent witnesses to humanity's fragile survival. The stealth ships, once cloaked beneath Earth's atmosphere, now drifted through unfamiliar sectors, ghosts on the run. Hunted but not yet defeated, Commander Malik stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, staring at the flickering holomap. A battered but determined crew moved around him, patched together from refugees, scientists, and soldiers. Their faces told the story of countless sacrifices, but also hope. "We need allies," Malik said, voice low but firm. "We can't fight the Empire alone, not out here." Dr. Amara Chen stepped forward, eyes reflecting the holographic star systems. "There's a network out beyond the Orion Rift. Fringe civilizations, forgotten by the Empire, but fiercely independent. Some might trade for technology or information. Others might join us for their own reasons." Malik nodded. "Send a scouting party." Quietly. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the fleet's lower decks, Lyra Patel sat with Kale, the alien exile warrior who had saved the Aurora on the moon. The two shared a quiet moment amid the hum of the ship. "You have spirit," Kale said softly. "But Earthlings must learn the dangers of trust. The Empire's reach is vast." Lyra met his gaze. "We don't have a choice. If we want to survive, we need friends, even from the darkest corners." Eyes flickered with something like respect. "Then we hunt together. But beware, shadows lurk closer than you think." Back on the bridge, Shade worked furiously to decrypt intercepted Imperial transmissions. Her fingers flew over the holokeyboard as she uncovered fragments of a secret. "Projects something the Empire called the Veil. It's a cloaking technology," Shade explained. "Even their ships don't know it's real yet. If they perfect it, they'll be unstoppable." Malik's jaw tightened. "Then we can't let that happen." Suddenly, the fleet's sensors picked up an incoming signaler-coded transmission from a distant system, encrypted in a language unfamiliar to human linguists. Amara leaned in. "It's not Imperial, it's someone else. Someone reaching out." Malik ordered a cautious response. Moments later, a message appeared. "You are not alone. The Shadow Alliance awaits." The fleet's officers exchanged uneasy glances. The Shadow Alliance was a whispered legend, an underground coalition of alien races. Smugglers and rebels united only by their hatred of the Empire. Can we trust them? Malik asked. We don't have the luxury to refuse, Amara said. Within hours, a sleek, unmarked ship emerged from a nearby nebula, docking with the Defiance. From its airlock stepped a tall figure clad in dark robes, glowing faintly with bioluminescence. This was Nira, the Shadow Ambassador. We've watched your fight, Nira said, voice calm but edged with steel. The Empire's shadow darkens all our worlds. We offer Alliance technology, intelligence, and safe passage through our networks. But it comes at a price. Malik raised an eyebrow. What price? Nira's gaze was piercing. A future where none are slaves. But to win, you must learn to play the shadows and make hard choices. Lyra listened carefully. What kind of choices? Nira smiled faintly. Sacrifice, deception, and the willingness to become what the Empire fears most: a united resistance. No one can break. That night, as the fleet settled into an easy partnership, whispers of dissent stirred among the crew. Some feared the Shadow Alliance's motives. Others hoped for salvation. Shade worked late into the cycle, tracing secret Imperial fleet movements. The Empire is mobilizing something big, more than just ships. There's a weapon, and it's coming. Amara's eyes darkened. Then we have less time than we thought. In the quiet corridors, Lyra spoke with Kale. We've escaped Earth, made allies, but it feels like the real battle hasn't even started. Kale nodded. Because it hasn't. The Empire hunts not just your bodies, but your minds and your spirits. We must be ready to fight on every front. Outside, stars shimmered with cold light. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and possibilities, but humanity had one advantage the Empire underestimated: the will to survive and the courage to run while they still could. In the cold heart of the Empire's flagship Dominion, vast chambers hummed with ruthless efficiency. Gleaming consoles pulsed with data streams, and commanders in pristine uniforms barked orders. Their faces masks of unyielding discipline, yet, beneath the polished exterior, frustration and fury simmered like molten lava. Admiral Vrax stood before the holomap, his dark eyes narrowing as he studied the ghostly flicker of the human fleet. His fingers tapped impatiently against the command podium. They slipped through the Kuiper corridor. He growled. A trick no one but primitive humans should have conceived. Admiral, a subordinate officer said cautiously, we have mobilized the Vanguard Squadron. They are en route to intercept through the secondary hyperspace route. We expect to corner the fleet within 48 standard hours. Vrax's lips curled in a bitter smile. 48 hours is too long. Those humans have cunning beyond their stature. They may use that time to find allies, or worse, to strike at us. He turned sharply, eyes blazing. Prepare the new weapon. The Veil project is ready for activation. Once deployed, it will cloak our forces completely. The humans will have no escape. In a hidden laboratory deep within the flagship, a group of scientists monitored the final calibration of the Veiler device, capable of shrouding entire fleets from detection, rendering invisible even the most advanced sensors. Lead scientist Dr. Lasara watched the readings anxiously. Once activated, the Veil will give us absolute control over this sector. No one can hide. Admiral Vrax's voice echoed from the door. Excellent. Prepare the fleet. We crush the human rebellion before it spreads. Meanwhile, Aboard the human flagship Defiance, the crew sensed the tightening noose. Sensors began picking up flickers of unusual interference. Strange anomalies in space. Shade's eyes narrowed at the display. They're testing a new kind of stealth tech. It's unlike anything we've seen. If they perfect it, we'll be blind. Commander Malik paced the bridge. We can't run forever. The Empire's power is overwhelming. Dr. Amara Chen stepped forward. No, but they underestimate one thing: the human will to survive. And our new allies. From the shadows, the arrival of the Shadow Alliance began to show its first fruits. Nira and her emissaries introduced cutting-edge technology, adaptive shields, enhanced propulsion systems, and intelligence networks that allowed the fleet to anticipate Imperial movements. Lyra, now promoted to lead tactical officer, coordinated strikes against Imperial supply lines. Hit them where it hurts, she urged her pilots. Make them bleed. The humans launched guerrilla attacks on isolated Imperial outposts in nearby star systems, disrupting supply chains and communications. Each victory was small, but stoked the fire of rebellion. But the Empire retaliated swiftly. Vanguard Squadron descended like a storm, cloaked partially in veiled technology, forcing the human fleet into defensive maneuvers. The battle that followed was brutal: fleets dancing through asteroid fields, laser volleys lighting the void in the chaos. A stealth fighter, piloted by Lyra, intercepted a transmission revealing the location of an Imperial supply hub, a chance to cripple the Empire's advance. Commander Malik, she called over, comes. This is our chance. If we strike now, we can slow their pursuit and buy time. Malik nodded grimly. Make it count. The strike was swift and fierce. Using Shadow Alliance tech, the stealth fighters penetrated Imperial defenses and destroyed the supply depot, triggering massive explosions that lit up the darkness. But victory came at a price. The Veil Project, partially activated during the battle, temporarily blinded the human sensors, allowing Vanguard Squadron to launch a surprise counterattack. Several stealth fighters were lost, and the Defiance sustained damage. As alarms blared, Malik's voice rose above the chaos. Fall back. Regroup at the outer rim. In the aftermath, as the fleet limped away, Lyra and Kale met in the damaged command bay. We've won a battle, Kale said grimly, but the war is far from over. Lyra clenched her fists. The Empire has weapons we don't understand. If they perfect the Veil, no one will be safe. Malik, entering the room, added, we need to find a way to counter it, or they'll hunt us to extinction. Back aboard the Dominion, Admiral Vrax's cold smile widened as he reviewed battle. Reports, they run, he muttered. But we will close the noose. The galaxy will bow before the Empire again. Far beyond the stars, the human fleet prepared to face an uncertain future, one where courage and cunning were their greatest weapons against a seemingly unstoppable foe. But the Empire had forgotten one thing. Humans were masters of adaptation, and the true fight for freedom was only beginning. The Defiance drifted in the cold shadows near the fractured remnants of a dying star system. The damage from the recent battle weighed heavily on every system. Shields flickered, power reserves strained, and the crew's morale wavered beneath the looming threat of the Empire's veil. Commander Malik stood at the center of the command deck, his eyes scanning the star charts. The Empire's veil technology blinds our senses, he said grimly. We can't fight what we can't see. Dr. Amara Chen's voice cut through the tension. There's one chance: intercept and decode the veil's source signal. It's the core transmitter on the Dominion. If we can disable or hijack it, the Empire's invisibility will collapse. Lyra nodded, already calculating the risks. But the Dominion is heavily guarded. We'll need a precise strike and a diversion. Kale stepped forward, his alien features etched with determination. I know their defenses. I was once part of the Dominion's assault fleet before I turned exile. I can guide the strike team through their blind spots. Malik's gaze hardened. Then we prepare. This mission will decide the fate of humanity's resistance. Hours later, in a hidden hangar bay, the strike team assembled. Lyra took the lead, her eyes burning with fierce resolve. Alongside her were Kale, Shade, and a handful of the fleet's most skilled pilots and engineers. As they boarded sleek stealth fighters, Nera from the Shadow Alliance delivered a final warning. This is a death sentence if it fails, but if you succeed, you'll tear the Empire's veil of invincibility wide open. The fighters slipped from the Defiance into the darkness of space, cloaked by both technology and shadow inside the Dominion. Admiral Vrax paced his command chamber, sensing the storm approaching. His Veil project was his ultimate weapon once. Fully operational, no enemy could hide from his fleet. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Unknown ships detected inside outer defense perimeter. Vrax's cold eyes narrowed. Prepare all interceptors. Seal the corridors. The Dominion's vast decks roared to life. As Imperial forces mobilized to meet the intruders, the strike fighters navigated through narrow corridors of debris, past automated turrets and patrol drones. Kale's knowledge proved invaluably them through service shafts and sensor blind spots. Lyra's come crackled, eyes sharp. We're close. At last, the team breached the core transmitter chamber. Cavernous space pulsing with energy, veiled in humming machinery. Shade went immediately to work hacking the controls, sweat beading on her forehead as firewalls fought back. Almost there. Just a few more seconds, she whispered suddenly. The chamber doors hissed shut. Imperial guards poured in, weapons raised guard. Kale growled, drawing his blade, a shimmering weapon crackling with alien energy. We fight here. Lyra and the others took cover, returning fire as Shade frantically continued her hacking. The room became a maelstrom of laser fire and clashing steel. Back on the Defiance, Commander Malik monitored the mission through comms. Hold your position. Extraction team is en route. Seconds stretched into agonizing minutes. Then Shade's voice came through, strained but triumphant. I've overridden the transmitter. Veil signal destabilizing. The Dominion's shields flickered violently as the Veil's field began to collapse. Admiral Vrax roared in fury, slamming a fist on the console. Shut it down. Kill the intruders. But the defenders had the advantage. With the Veil faltering, the Defiance's sensors blazed back to life, locking on to the Imperial fleet. Lyra led the charge out of the chamber, Kale covering their retreat as alarms screamed around them. The strike team sprinted through corridors, evading Imperial reinforcements. As the Veil's collapse rippled through the sector, the Dominion's invisibility shattered. The human fleet leaped into action, stealth fighters and cruisers opening fire on the now visible Imperial ships. The battle that followed was brutal and desperate. Without the Veil's protection, Imperial vessels became vulnerable targets. Malik's voice rang out, calm but fierce. Now is the time. Push forward. For Earth, for freedom. Back in the Dominion's bridge, Admiral Vrax watched as his fleet faltered, overwhelmed by coordinated strikes from the humans and their allies. This isn't over, he hissed. We will adapt. We will return. But even his cold heart felt the sting of defeat. The Defiance's crew cheered as the battle swung in their favor. Though wounded and battered, they had broken the Empire's greatest weapon. Lyra and Kale, bruised but alive, stood together on the command deck. "We did it," Lyra said softly. "But this war, it's far from finished." Kale nodded. "The Empire will strike again, but now they fear us." Commander Malik placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "We're no longer just running. We're fighting." The stars outside shimmered, bright with possibility. The future of humanity and the galaxy hung in the balance. The vastness of space held its breath as the last embers of battle faded. The Dominion, once the Empire's symbol of invincibility, now drifted, crippled, its veil shattered, its command broken. Against all odds, humanity had turned the tide. "Commander." Malik stood at the helm of the Defiance, gazing out at the stars that had been both their prison and their promise. Around him, the fleet's battered ships hummed with cautious life. The long nightmare of running, hiding, and fighting had brought them here to the edge of a new beginning. Lyra Patel joined him, her eyes reflecting the distant glow of a small, uncharted planet. "We've won the battle," she said quietly. "But the war, ... the war is just beginning." Malik nodded. "The Empire's reach is vast, but so is our will." The Shadow Alliance ships, sleek and shadowy, flanked the human vessels. Nearest presence on the command deck was a reminder that Earth was no longer alone. "The galaxy has heard your message," Nira said, her voice calm but filled with fierce resolve. "The Empire's grip loosens. Systems long oppressed will rise." Kale stood nearby, silent but vigilant. The alien exile, who had once been a prisoner of the Empire, was now a symbol of unity, a living testament to the power of rebellion and trust across species. News of the Empire's defeat rippled through the galaxy's fractured worlds. Across star systems, oppressed colonies lit their fires of resistance. Smugglers, rebels, and diplomats alike took up the call. Back on Earth, hidden deep beneath the surface, pockets of humanity watched broadcasts from the fleet. Hope rekindled in their hearts. The planet they called home, once a target of imperial tribute and subjugation, had become a beacon. But victory came at a price. The Defiance's medical bay was filled with the wounded soldiers and civilians alike. Reminders of sacrifice. Shade, battle-worn but unbroken, tended to a young pilot with a shattered leg. "We've lost so much," she murmured. Amara Chen, standing nearby, replied, "But we've gained something more: freedom and a future." Malik convened a council. The leaders of humanity and their allies gathered in the flagship's war room. "We cannot rebuild alone," Malik declared. "The galaxy is vast, and the Empire's shadow still lingers. We must forge alliances, build coalitions, and stand ready for what comes next." Nira nodded. "The Shadow Alliance will stand with you. Together we are stronger," Kale added. "Trust will be our greatest weapon. The Empire relies on fear and division. We offer unity and hope." As the fleet set a course for the uncharted planet visible from the command deck, Lyra looked to Malik. "A new home. A chance to start fresh," Malik said. "A place to build a future worthy of the sacrifices we've made." Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a canvas of infinite possibilities. In the quiet moments before landing, Lyra reflected on their journey, the terror of the Empire's demand, the desperate run from Earth, the battles fought on the moon and among the stars, and the fragile alliances forged in darkness. "We ran while we still could," she whispered, "but now we fight not just to survive, but to live." The fleet descended toward the planet's surface, a world lush with forests, oceans, and skies unpolluted by war. It was a new beginning, a chance to rise from the ashes as the first settlers stepped onto the soil. Children laughed and cried, elders prayed and celebrated. Earth was no longer just a home lost to war, it was a memory fueling a new destiny above. The stars watched silently. The Empire's shadow had receded, but the galaxy remained a place of challenges and wonders. Yet, humanity's card tested and unbroken stood ready. The Empire had demanded tribute. Earth had answered by running, but now humanity would stand. And the dawn of a new era had begun, the end.